Breaking news. Considered.
The Elias Macco Show.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Gertie Mason sitting in for Elias Macos, and in this segment we're going to take a closer look at the fire situation, the wildfire situation. This is a pan-Canadian story, it seems, this year because there are wildfires burning out of control in northern Ontario and in parts of the prairie provinces as well that are of great concern. Here in Quebec, we do have dozens of fires burning. Here to tell us more is Lea Bedard-Beaulieu, spokesperson for the forest fire fighting agency SOPFEU. Lea, welcome to CJAD.
Good morning.
Hello. Can you run the numbers for us? How many fires do we have burning?
At the moment, we have 150 active fires in the province of Quebec. Most of them are located in the Nordic area, and we have about 10 fires in the intensive protection zone. The Nordic area is located up north of the 51st parallel. What you have to know with all these numbers of fires is that only about 20 of it are being fought at the moment. Why? Well, because in the Nordic area, we prioritize fires that are a risk to a community or an strategic infrastructure, such as a road, an electricity line, for example. So that's pretty much it for the numbers of fire in Quebec right now.
Is that considered manageable? We had heard that we will be bringing in some extra manpower from other parts of Quebec, the U.S., France, for example.
It is considered manageable. We did request help from other provinces such as BC, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Alberta, and also we are waiting for resources from the United States, the northeastern states, for example, Maine, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and also crews from a private unit of wildland firefighters from France. Why we request this help, even if the situation is still manageable, is because we've been working for now 1 and even 2 months in some regions, and we need to give some rest to our crews to make sure that the work remains safe and manageable for them.
The manpower that you've requested from other jurisdictions, are these ground workers or are these aerial workers, plane crews, for example?
It's both, actually. We have ground workers, so firefighters. We also have some helicopters that were shared with us, and even some planes at some moments. So it's both ground and aerial resources.
We often talk about the weather in conjunction with forest fires. Has SOPFEU looked ahead at the forecast for this week and decided whether it bodes well or bodes ill for the forest fire outlook?
Well, this weekend, most of the fires received some rain, but the amount varies significantly between the regions. So in the southern part of the province, we did receive a good amount of rain. In the northern part, we did receive some rain, but probably not enough. So we still have some work to do on fire lines, and the return of clear weather today, combined with sustained winds, will contribute to an increase of fire activity in the next few days.
Where are we in the forest fire season? Is this mid-July generally the peak of forest fire season? Did it start? Is it following a typical pattern this year?
In the intensive protection zone, so the part below the 51st parallel, we are in the average. So the number of fires, the number of the amount of hectares that are touched is in the average. In the Nordic area, the situation is very different. We have much more fires than we usually do at this time of the year.
So that is something that cannot be sitting well with SOPFEU in terms of going through the rest of the summer. Is it expected to run above average for the balance of the forest fire season?
It's very, very hard to answer this question because in the end, it's Mother Nature that has the last word. For the fires in the north of Quebec, most of them are caused by lightning strikes, different episodes of thunderstorms combined with heat and a significant rainfall deficit. So it can change. It can change very quickly with the weather. There's always a part of imprevisibility. So it's very hard to answer this question.
In the Nordic zone, which is very far north, and as you mentioned, the priority for firefighting is generally the fires that are threatening an installation like a power line or a highway, a piece of infrastructure, a community, or a Hydro-Quebec installation, which is, in the past we've seen that the case where we've had fires dangerously close to some of Hydro-Quebec's lines and facilities. But for the rest of them, generally they're just ignored and allowed to burn out?
They are not ignored. We always monitor all the fires in the Nordic area to make sure that it does not evolve to threaten a community or an infrastructure. But we have to keep in mind that fire is still part of the ecosystem in these regions, and that's why we let these fires burn, but still monitor all of them.
Lea, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Lea Bedard-Beaulieu is a spokesperson with SOPFEU, which is Quebec's forest firefighting agency. When we return after the traffic update, we are going to get the take of an expert on forests about that American opinion that if Canada only managed its forests better, it would not be polluting the U.S. with its wildfire smoke.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch. Debate, interviews, and breaking news. The Elias Macco Show.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, the voice of Montreal.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
Or the free iHeartRadio app.
As we just heard before the break, about 150 forest fires burning in Quebec as of this morning. 10 in the intensive zone, what SOPFEU considers the intensive zone, which is closer to the St. Lawrence River. It's the southern part of the province. The vast majority of the 150 are up in the Nordic zone, which is very far north. And as we heard from that SOPFEU spokesperson, Lea Bedard-Beaulieu, they're mainly caused by lightning strikes and to some degree are considered part of the cycle of the ecosystem there. However, that has not stopped from some of the Americans from criticizing Canada for not handling its wildfires, in their view, properly, with some U.S. senators, even U.S. President Donald Trump, accusing Canada of not being able to properly manage its forests and even threatening to come in and do it for us, which would be a rather shocking incursion into our country. We speak now with a professor emeritus at the Forest Research Institute of the Université du Québec on Abitibi-Témiscamingue, who is an expert on these questions, Professor Yves Bergeron. Welcome to CJAD 800.
Yes, good morning.
Do you think Canada has anything to be ashamed about in the way it manages its forests or its wildfire responses?
No, I don't think so. I think we could do more prevention than fighting fire, but that's not the issue with the U.S. I think the issue with the U.S. is that there are strong misunderstanding of fire regime in the boreal forest from the American, because they are used more to the different fire regime in, say, in California or in the Pacific West in general, where in these fire regime, it makes sense to thin the forest and to decrease the chance of having crown fire. But in the boreal forest, we only have crown fire with few exceptions. So thinning the forest wouldn't be a good idea. It wouldn't work. So so there's nothing we can do rather than trying to extinguish fire. And since it's secure in the north, far away from road and everything, it's impossible for the firefighter agency to be able to extinguish all the fire. So I think we have to live with fire and protect the community and accept that they will burn and potentially burn more in the future.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into the difference between the forests that they have to a large degree in the U.S. and the ones that we have in northern Quebec, where you're talking about the prevalence that we see of crown fires, which occur high up in the cover, in the treetops, as opposed to fires that spread via dead vegetation down at ground level. What does tending the forests, as they do in some places in the States, does that involve just clearing out the underbrush, the dead wood?
In fact, what you don't want in the Pacific Northwest is that the small trees grow into the forest in such a way that they can reach the top canopy of the big trees with the thick bark that will stand surface fire. They won't die from surface fire. But if you let these small trees grow and then touch the high canopy, then you will have a crown fire. So it's why in California and even in British Columbia, we will recommend to thin the forest, to take out all these small trees from the forest to be sure that we won't have this kind of crown fire. But in the boreal, you have small trees with branch, black spruce, for example, has branches that touch the ground, and there's no way they can survive fire. So you don't have these two canopy. You have one canopy that grows all together, and as soon as you have trees and the branch touch one with the other, then you have a crown fire. So it's a completely different system. And unfortunately, thinning the forest could have an effect around community just to decrease the amount of biomass, or you didn't do agriculture around community, plant hardwood trees around communities, but we cannot do that for all the boreal forests. It doesn't make any sense.
It just the thought of having to send crews in to do that type of clearing. We're talking about northern Quebec, where I don't know, they'd have to be lowered by helicopters, I guess, because there's so much land up there that isn't accessible by roads. That's a huge territory as well. I wonder sometimes if the Americans have ever looked at a map.
Yeah, they have Alaska. But I think the population is not similar to our population, so they don't learn from their part of the boreal. But to be efficient, and I'm not an expert. You have to ask a SOPFEU. But as soon as the fire is over 4 hectares, it's very, very difficult to control the fire if the weather is not good. So we are quite efficient to extinguish small fire in the south. Most of them are man-made fire. They are not by lightning strike. But as we move north, as you said, we have to find it when they are quite small. Now we are better because we have a lightning detector, so we know where the plane should go to see if a fire has started. And there's also a lot of way with the teledetection. Sorry, I don't have the good name in English, but there's more and more technology to be able to find fire at the beginning. But as soon as they start to be big enough, it's very, very difficult to control those fires.
Professor Bergeron, thank you for sharing your expertise.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Professor Yves Bergeron is a professor emeritus at the Forest Research Institute of the Université du Québec on Abitibi-Témiscamingue. When's the last time you read a book? Do you still read books? Peace in the Atlantic is musing about the end of reading being here, and we will talk about that with our tech guy, tech advisor, investor, author, Mitch Joel. That's coming up after the 11:30 update.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
An iHeartRadio station.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.
Missed something?
Subscribe to the Elias Macco Show podcast to catch up.
Available on iHeartRadio and wherever you get your podcasts.
Two topics coming up with Mitch Joel, tech advisor. We're going to talk about whether reading has become a niche activity and whether it's true that people can't tell the difference between a person and an AI when it comes to who or what is narrating an audiobook.
Missed something? It's never been easier to catch up.
Find CJAD 800 podcasts on the iHeartRadio app. iHeartRadio.
Or click audio on our page.
On our page. CJAD800.com.
CJAD800.com.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry. Hey, it's Bruno Mars. This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.
10.
On a need-to-know basis, he's got you covered. Elias Mackos, CJAD 800.
Trudy Mason sitting in again this week, saying hello again to Mitch Joel, tech advisor, investor, and author of Control Alt Delete. Hello again, Mitch.
Hey, Trudy, great to hear from you.
Let's talk about reading, because something caught your eye in The Atlantic, an essay that is getting a lot of traction from people who I think are taking a look at their own reading patterns and seeing some truth in this. It's called The End of Reading is Here. It talks about how reading is becoming a niche activity, but I guess the question is there still value to it? We're talking about sustained reading. We're not talking about reading a newspaper story or reading a blog post or something like that. Why do you think this is significant? We are talking about this at this time, Mitch.
Well, the interesting part about this is that we know that people are actually probably reading more than ever, whether it comes to things like their feed, like you talked about, or just messages or summaries or comments or emails. There's headlines all day long. So it does feel to most people like they are reading more than they ever have. What I think this article is bringing out is that the loss here isn't the loss of literacy, our ability to read. It has much more to do with stamina. And the stamina of this is how we actually spend our time on sustained, deeper, slower kind of reading, which books provide. Things even like maybe even serious essays, you could argue that there's other forms of literature and things like that. But it's essentially this idea that we might be heading into a post-literate age specifically on that world. And so the crisis isn't because there's like a reading crisis. By the way, I think you and I are both old enough to know that we've always talked about people are reading less and people don't read enough books. Like we were saying this long before there was an internet. But really, it's more about this attention, cognition, our education, how we actually think even about politics and culture. And what happens when you don't spend time in these deeper, richer texts is your ability to follow complex arguments over time diminishes. That's the author's thesis, and I would say that it's something that very much resonated with me.
Yeah, you know what kind of sticks with me about this is when I read fiction, I learn about other people's reality. And it can be really eye-opening. People think very differently. From me, they reason differently. They prioritize different things. And a good novel, it's, fairly substantial novel, really, gets into it in a very detailed, nuanced way. So you really feel you're getting to know individuals that you're reading about, and you're starting to see how complicated humans are. And without that acceptance that humans are complicated and motivations are many, I wonder if it's part of our inability now, apparently, to get along with people who disagree with us. Is
100%. Yeah.
We can't put ourselves in each other's shoes.
Yeah, it's 100% connected, because part of the ability to do that, to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, is a form of friction. And we've become attached, as if we have with these dopamine hits, to these tools that reduce friction everywhere. Reading and thinking like you're talking about is supposed to have friction. That friction is actually part of how we think and how we dive deep. To go to your other point, which is even more critical, to build an inner life for us that's not constantly interrupted. So when you are spending time, not just in reading these books, but understanding and almost hearing the internal dialogue of whoever the author is trying to create the character of, it can be fiction or nonfiction, that's where we start to form ideas, and that ability to stay with the idea, to follow the argument, the thinking patterns. And even to be bored before you're somewhat rewarded and how that works, wrestling with ambiguity, all those things, that's what I feel is the real loss. And with that comes exactly what you're saying, that connection to better understanding how others think, behave, and why they do that.
It doesn't lead to a very good place on either aspects, when it boils down to it, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, on the other side of this, there's always the other side of the story. And one is you'll see if you look online that there's a lot of counter arguments that the end of reading is here. One of them is if you look at younger generations and book talk and all of that, it has created a world where young people are reading quite a bit. Quality and all that stuff is questionable for sure. And then also we do have other forms of engagement that we see with younger people. So even if you think about binge watching, it's not just a short form 2-minute blip. So people do, you look at podcasts, the most popular podcasts are sometimes an hour, 2-3 hours. So I think the other interesting angle here is that we might just also be looking at a world which is a little bit different in the sense of maybe it's not a reading thing, but we're moving now more towards an oral or visual future. And that's not necessarily bad. Like if it's podcasts and audiobooks and video essays and long, that could be meaningful. It's just different. And so hopefully we're not losing long form. We're just losing and or seeing it become more of a niche how we read. And I think that's the grander argument too. So it's important to keep things in context.
Let's springboard into the other topic that's on your mind today, and that is a new study showing that listeners to audiobooks often cannot tell whether that audiobook is being narrated by a human being or an artificial intelligence. And often the AI versions are preferred over the human being reading the book aloud. And, as someone who has decades of experience in radio, I'm a little alarmed by that. Yeah. And you too, you've worked in broadcast. Does it not alarm you to hear that?
So the first thing is we should know that this is driven by a press release about a study that was commissioned by a company's own product, but the people they commissioned it from, Edison Research at SSRS, I know Edison Research for decades, and they are stand up and qualified. So there's a bit of a balance there, but true. I am not surprised when I hear how some of these tools are able to replicate and create emotion in terms of pure voice. I am usually astounded. I think what's really interesting here is the front loading of this. So if we say to somebody, do you want AI to read you a story or a human? Look, immediately they go human. And then you play them these different samples, and it's fascinating to hear that not only can they not hear the difference, but more times than others, they actually prefer the AI voice. In relation specific to what you're saying, Trudy, you and I have spent decades mastering how we communicate in this format. And we've done things. We've taken out our ums and uhs and our vocal tics and quirks. We've done things that we know create a certain rhythm, tone, loudness, quietness to get people to pay attention. There's no reason why these amazing technologies can't replicate that or copy it. And I think the challenge or opportunity is when there's people like you and I is to figure out how are we building trust and how are we creating content that resonates or connects more directly in a world where we might have to abdicate that skill of becoming very good at speaking might be less important than what we say.
I do have a question about the comparison because they compared human narration to AI multicast. Does that mean that it had multiple voices to illustrate the action, like more like dialogue you'd hear on TV or in a radio play? Because I could see listeners preferring that because it's clearer who's talking. It's easier to follow.
Yes, it's exactly that. So typically we have these even celebrity narrators who do audiobooks, and people actually buy books based off of if it's that narrator. These are Grammy Award winning people and voices. But you're right. I think that if you have a 400-500 page long book read by the same voice, it's obviously going to be less interesting than if you have what would be considered a multicast narration. What the AI technology is doing is obviously layering it in where it's able to have an unlimited number of cast members. So even when you have multi cast read audiobooks with multiple voices. Usually that voice is taking on 2 or 3 different characters. But again, in that, the question is that you would think people would immediately go, I don't want a robot read, even if it is multicast. But I think what's happening here, if you look at it, is if you don't tell the reader or the listener, it seems like they can't tell the difference. And it also seems like they're more inclined to go with the AI one. So at the end of the day, I still think it's important for us to really think about the fact that you might think I'm not willing to accept an AI voice in my audiobooks or podcasts or anything else. However, a lot of the content we hear is somewhat generic in terms of narration. And so if your voice is simply reading words, AI is coming for you. If your value is presence, judgment, the chemistry that you and I have, a sense of community, the knowledge that Trudy has of Montreal, that's going to be the moat more than your ability to sound amazing.
Always thought-provoking to speak to you, Mitch. Thanks for this.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Trudy.
Mitch Joel, tech advisor, investor, author of Control, Alt, Delete.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
The Elias Macko Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
Trudy sitting in, hopefully ending the show with a smile today. We welcome the co-creator of a comedy show that will be at Pub St. Paul this Thursday night. It promises to be an interesting night out in the old port. Comedian Michelle Forrester joins us on CJAD 800. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Trudy. Thank you for having me. Big fan of the show.
Well, thank you for joining us. Tell me about the origin, first of all, of the name, the Pink Chicken Comedy Show. Where does the Pink Chicken come from?
So Pink Chicken actually comes from my co-producer, Hilary Henderson. She started the show, and I think she came up with it on a whim. It definitely has a few euphemisms that, well, we're not sure we're attached to, but that's kind of the story of the name. And from there, it just grew. I joined her about 2 years ago, and we've been touring the show across Canada for the last 2.5 years. And we're in Montreal this Thursday, showcasing some female talent. We have some acts joining us from, that are also on the Just for Laughs Festival. We're such big fans of that festival. So it's going to be an incredible night. It's all female comics. And then we have an interactive piece that we like to call our group chat segment. And that's where people submit things, and we sort of have like a collective laugh together. We go through everyone's prompts, and it's just so much fun. It's really something that is dear to my heart. And I hope that if you're a woman, if you're a man, you can come too. But it's really a female-driven show. And it's been great to create that community across Canada.
Now, this is a combination of, you mentioned the interactive audience segment where the audience submits stuff for you to riff on. Before that, is it sketch comedy? Is it stand-up? What format does it take?
Yeah, it's stand-up comedy. So a lot of time, in our lineups, there's usually only one woman on the show. So this is a different show because all the acts will be women. And it's just really a showcase of all the talent that's rising in Canada, especially in the female space. So we're really excited about it. It's half stand-up, half interactive.
You've been touring it around, so I guess you can answer my next question. Are we losing the ability to laugh? Because I feel that people are so touchy these days. If you say something that disagrees with their politics, disagrees with their stand on any particular controversial issue, you're going to end up catching flack. It's like none of us seem to be able to, laugh at ourselves anymore.
It's definitely a minefield out there. What I'll say, what has been encouraging is definitely, I'm privy to these attitudes, and I think we all kind of feel the heaviness taking things too seriously. What I have loved about stand-up is in these rooms, it doesn't seem to be that. It's like, it's very much, you see all this hate online and whatever, but then when you come to a show, these are people that want to laugh. They want to get out of the world, get away from the big bad world and sit down for 75 minutes and just enjoy comedy. So I actually find at the live events, you actually have a lot more laughing and a lot more embracing of just having a good laugh. And we like to say our show, you'll feel like you were laughing out with old friends all night. That's really the goal that we try to bring. But yeah, it's definitely tough. It's tough to have a sense of humor. But what's been encouraging is in these rooms, there's definitely audiences out there that really just want to laugh and aren't taking things too seriously and don't want to talk about politics and just want to enjoy time with other people, human connection, funnily enough.
Well, I was going to ask about the audience participation in the interactive component of the show. Does that ever get political?
I don't think it has. It's funny. We've toured it in different provinces. Like we were out in Edmonton Fridge last year, and we've traveled across East Coast as well. It doesn't seem to come up now. I don't know if that's we've just been lucky, or if we're attracting people who maybe don't want to talk about politics or maybe feel that they have the same politics as us. Although we don't really even talk about it during the show. But no, not yet. I'm hoping that it stays that way. Actually, it's usually we try and keep the prompts kind of like questions that pertain to the female experience. So whether that be relationship with your mom, your mother wound, or work stuff or relationship stuff, we really try and stay away from the divisive topics as much as possible. It's just not the arena for it. It's actually a break from that. So if you're looking for a break from that, definitely come check out our show. Your
mother wound, is that an expression now? That's a new one on me. Your mother wound.
Yeah, I think that's something some people have definitely taught us. We had a few women talking about it, I think, at our last show. That's why it's top of mind. But yeah,
man, as a mother, I'm a little worried.
No, don't worry. It's I think people come, they talk about their relationships with their parents. I think we all have, we all navigate different dynamics.
Oh yeah, it's always complicated. Yeah. It's never the mother-child relationship is never straightforward.
No, definitely.
During your travels, now you're a native Montrealer, so you're home here.
Yes.
During your travels, have you noticed any differences in the audiences across Canada?
You know what? That's a great question. I think I actually will shout out Edmonton. There were great audiences. I think the audiences are different everywhere you go. In Toronto, they're really into sketch. They really like sort of like more alty comedy. In Edmonton, they seem to like really everything. That's why I kind of love them. Montreal has a very specific taste for comedy. There's the influence from the French side as well. There's, so much French comedy. So yeah, it definitely differs from province to province, and that's been what really fun to meet like different groups of women and hear their experiences. And a lot of times we are all experiencing the same things too, which is nice. So
there's more that brings us together than divides us, or whatever that catchphrase is that people are putting on posters these days. All right, Michelle Forrester, very best of luck with the Pink Chicken comedy show. It's at Pub St. Paul on this Thursday, July 23rd, 9:00. That's on St. Paul Street East, so you can go down to the Old Port and have a nice summer evening out. Michelle, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Trudy. Bye.
All right, I'll be back in a sec.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.
My sincere thanks to technical producer Jay Farrar and master control content producer Maxim Kedot for coming up with some great interview ideas for the show. It looks like it will be a very pleasant afternoon in Montreal. Enjoy it, folks.
and the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice.
Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
An iHeart radio station.
This newscast is brought to you by Supermarché Acquevan. Cool off this summer with fresh, sweet watermelon from Supermarché Acquevan. Choose from juicy whole watermelons or freshly sliced, ready to enjoy.
Hey, I'm Ruby Carr, the host of the podcast Encore. Check out our brand new episodes featuring music from the show that everyone is reheating as we speak, Heated Rivalry. Join me as I go behind the songs that brought Shane and Elia together. I'll tell you the stories of Feist, My Moon, My Man, Wolf Parade's I'll Believe in Anything, and Tattoo's All the Things She Said, and how they all became a part of this global phenomenon. Stream Encore on iHeartRadio, Crave, or wherever you get your podcasts.